Yeah, do it.
Tighten up, everybody. Come on, get in here.
Getting close.
Yeah, do it now before you, before like a few minutes from now, you're like, I want to move my chair, but now it's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
So we are so lucky to have Paula Findlay here. Every time I get ready for one of these and sort of start combing through results, I start being like, oh my God, there are too many amazing results to go over.
We don't need to talk about that.
We got to throw a few of them up there. But Paula's coming off a 5-minute victory at Chattanooga 70.3. Also won St. Anthony's earlier this year. She closed out 2022 with a win at Indian Wells. Handily won her match at the Collins Cup last year, and was second at 70.3 World Championships. That is like results in the last like 9 months. We can keep going back to Paul's amazing ITU and WTS career. But yeah, you're getting a chance to chat with one of the most decorated triathletes of all time. So
I don't know about
really,
that. Yeah. I live here, so
We're really
chat
grateful.
with you guys. Usually Eric would be here, but he's racing Alcatraz in the morning, so he's flying solo, and he kind of prefers that.
Really?
I don't know. We always go to races together, and it creates some distraction. It's also good in a lot of ways, but he can just fly in and do what he needs to do, and not worry about me. And yeah, he won last year.
Stealth mission.
Yeah.
When was the last time you went to a race alone? Then?
I was in Chattanooga alone,
Yeah.
sort of. He was racing Alabama Xterra, and I was racing Chattanooga, so we flew together and then parted ways. So yeah, it feels a lot more like a business trip when we're not together racing, which is good and bad. I don't know. Just like get the job done and leave.
Yeah.
But we like doing it together too. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
He won Alcatraz?
He won Alcatraz last year, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Defending champion.
Yeah, he's going to try to win again. Jason West is his biggest competition. He's kind of on fire with the run, but I don't know. It's a course that suits Eric a lot with the longer swim and super hilly bike, pretty technical. So
What's the weather from this?
not raining, but not warm. It's always kind of chilly in San Francisco. Which
And that would be his third win there. 'Cause
It
he
would be if he won, yeah.
Right, yeah, that'd be awesome. Winning Alcatraz 3 times would be...
That is a bananas race.
I'm not there because I hate it. But
I was like, this. You couldn't draw like a worse race.
Yeah.
Every
time I've done it,
swim.
I actually found a picture of myself racing in 2017, and it's so hilarious how far my bike position has evolved, and just me as an athlete, like seeing what I looked like back then on the bike versus now. So
it's changed so much, right? Like bike position and bike fits and stuff, and like
for everyone, I think. Yeah, if you don't, the tilt, and everyone's kind of evolving with aerodynamics. So yeah, in the olden days, you see like Crowe with his flat bars.
It's just like all of this wind.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, they didn't think of that, but yeah.
One result from last year that is a little like off the radar is you are the Canadian national champion in the time trial.
Yeah.
What made you like decide that you wanted to go and pursue that?
The bike has become my strength over the last couple of years, and I just wanted to see where I stacked up. I'm Canadian, so where I stacked up nationally, and I thought I might have a chance to win, but I didn't really know what I was getting into in terms of the competition and what I could hold for a 30K. I've never really raced that short of a distance before. And I won by over a minute, I think. So I'm actually getting ready to do it again this year in 2 weeks now.
Cool.
So I am training specifically for it right now.
What does that look
fun.
like?
Yeah.
A lot of trainer time?
It's a lot different. No, not in this beautiful weather. In the winter, I did a lot of trainer time, but it's a lot different in terms of the intensity and duration of workouts. Like I'll do 6x4 minutes at 315 watts, like as hard as I can kind of thing in aero, versus a TT workout for a triathlon would be like 3x20 minutes at 250. So it's just the watt difference is so much, but it's for such a short amount of time that you just have to get into a different headspace. And obviously not running off the bike, you can go a lot deeper, and kind of the mental headspace you have to get into for like a 40-minute race versus a 4-hour race is so different. So the warm-up's more critical, and so yeah, those are little things I've been tweaking. My bike position's a bit different for the UCI race. It's different regulations of where your bars can be and how much they can tilt and all that. So slightly more aggressive position for the shorter race as well.
What did you like encounter during the event? Did you do any warm-up TTs before that one, or?
No, I just did some really specific, like yesterday I did 2x10K all out, so just like kind of a simulation, I guess, but not an actual race.
How does that affect your, your long course stuff? Like, I mean, isn't it changed it dramatically?
I thought it helped last year a little bit. Like I raced the TT in June, and then I was second at the PTO Edmonton race with like a 5-minute lead off the bike in July. So I just adjust back to doing a bit longer intervals, but I'm still riding like 13 to 15 hours a week. So my volume's not changing that much, and obviously still swimming and biking, or swimming and running at the same time. So yeah, I don't really know why I'm doing it. It's in the back of my mind, my dream is to make the Olympic team in 24, and I don't know if that's possible with the federations and the politics, and you're kind of at the mercy of Cycling Canada a little bit, even if I win nationals. So we'll see. It's like a little dream of mine, and it's definitely not, it wouldn't like make me any money. Like I do triathlon for my job and I make prize money and have sponsors, but this would be more like
But you get the tattoo.
fulfilling a dream.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to the Olympics for triathlon, so it'd be kind of like a full circle moment to go for cycling.
You need to activate the TTL Nation. To
Yes.
do
Yeah. I don't want to be.
Cycling Canada.
Yeah, I don't want to be too like public about that because I don't know exactly what it would
That
look
might
like.
be
Yeah, but it is my goal. So.
So we work with our athletes on goal setting to try to like maintain motivation. How do you have been doing this at a really high level for a while? You're doing it at a high level in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
How do you maintain motivation for training? Like what's the thing that keeps you ticking?
I don't know, because I don't love it every day. In fact,
It's really good to hear.
I don't love it. I don't love it as much as most people seem to love it that train and race with me. I do it a lot of the time because I'm good at it, and I go and win races, and I'm like, well, I guess I have to keep doing
Right.
it. And Eric's like, you don't have to do this. But yeah, there's definitely ups and downs, even like on an annual cycle, you know. Motivation changes with the weather and with the season and with injuries and all of that. So I think deep down I'm just super competitive, and I think I believe I can be a world champion at something, and that kind of keeps me going. But I'm certainly not like absolutely loving every single workout every day and waking up excited to train all the time. It is keeping like the bigger goals in mind, and then just realizing I am actually pretty lucky to be able to do this for a living, and there's not much else I'd rather do, I guess. So although it's hard sometimes, and not just the physical hard, but it's mentally hard, and there's a lot of pressure now with the PTO and with more money being involved, that takes a bit of the fun away from it for me. I've never done this to make money, but now the PTO puts this pressure on because there's so much more money in the sport. So it's made it a lot more stressful for me over the last couple of years, to the point where sometimes it's really not enjoyable. But I go and have a good result, and it kind of like reinforces why I'm doing it, and ups my confidence and like confirms to myself that I am actually good at it. So sometimes that belief kind of wavers in training. So yeah, that's not really a good answer, but
No, I think it would resonate with a lot of people. So
yeah,
thank you.
It's really about, you just have to like enjoy the little things every day,
Yeah.
like whether it's not looking at your power meter for 30 minutes and like taking in the views,
Right.
stuff like that.
Having
Maybe
fun where
doing
you
some
are.
gravel riding without power, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just keeps the fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
You just sort of alluded to like maybe not doing triathlon, but like what do you think you would, if this were not an option, like if doing triathlon
Yeah,
were not an option,
What would I
what do
do?
you think you'd be doing?
It depends if I could like go back in time, because
You totally can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I have my undergrad degree in sciences, and I wanted to go to med school my whole life.
Wow.
But I feel like it's a bit too late for that. I think I probably still could, but obviously med school is a lot more school, so it'd be a full life change.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I'd be doing if I wasn't racing triathlon.
Like working in medicine, basically.
Yeah,
or-
being a doctor. My dad's a doctor. It's kind of like in our family a bit, and it's always been. I never thought I'd be doing triathlon as a 34-year-old. I thought I'd be a surgeon. So my dad's a little disappointed.
Oh
But
my
It can be your
God.
fallback. It can be your fallback.
Yeah, maybe. No, but I am really happy to do this. A lot of my friends who went to med school, it's a very stressful and difficult and all-consuming, kind of like triathlon. But yeah, I'm happy with this career for now.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we just rattled off a bunch of your like really good results. You were 5th at Oceanside earlier this year, and I think I was out here, and I was like, Paula doesn't really seem happy with her Oceanside result.
Yeah.
How do you decide if a race was a successful race? Like, what is kind of your rubric for that?
It's not all results based, I don't think. It's how you feel in a race. I'm sure you can relate to that. If you go into a race and got the most out of yourself and felt really good all day and lived up to like what you thought you could do in training, then I guess it's a success. That race I felt bad, and I was way behind people I felt like I should have been in the mix with, and Oceanside's a really tough race. It's like beginning of April. We're just coming out of like deep winter in Bend. Haven't done much riding outside, and I throw myself into that race every year, and it's a good starting point, but I've never had like an amazing race there. So just realizing that doesn't dictate the rest of my year, I was okay with it, but it was more how I felt. It was like stringing together a 70.3 for the first time in 4 or 5 months is really, really hard, and it gets easier as you do it more in the season. So that was the struggle for me, but it wasn't a huge surprise.
Yeah, Oceanside is always like the first
So
pancake.
hard.
It's just like, you're like, this is a mess.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's just like nothing's working.
Yeah. Some people are on fire in Oceanside, but you often don't see them on fire in September. So you have to like keep that in mind too.
Yeah. That's great. You put a comment on, I think, Strava or somebody's Instagram or something that was like, how did we ever like run this pace for like half marathons or something?
Yeah, it's funny.
Like,
Nick is our friend who does the podcast with us, and he's an age group athlete, a decent one, and he always races faster than he trains, whereas Eric and I, we find it really hard to train at the speeds that we race at, even for like 20-minute intervals. So it's just like a whole different, I don't know, world. Nick doesn't understand it, but I'm like, you should just race faster. You can do it.
Great advice.
Excellent coaching. Just go faster.
Just go faster. Right.
You want to go with TTL stuff?
Oh yeah. So we have a lot of TTL fans in the proverbial room here.
Nice.
It's really resonated with a lot of people. How do you feel like you are plugging into like what is needed in the triathlon community right now? Is that like conscious, or is it lucky?
It's definitely conscious and a bit of luck. How we started this all was during COVID. We were doing weekly YouTube videos. Well, Eric mostly was, but it was a good time to do that because it kept us feeling like we had a purpose every week. We were not racing, obviously, and training was uncertain as well. So the YouTube and the community aspect of that kind of kept us on track a little bit, and we created our logo halfway through that year with the help of a friend, Ralph Dunning, who lives in Toronto, and it sort of like blossomed into a brand, which was not fully intentional, but it's kind of intangible what it actually is. It's mostly a community, I think, and when you go to races and see other people wearing the gear, it's not like, it's different than like a Zoom team or a Win Republic. I feel like people that represent TTL or feel like they're a part of that community really can connect to each other in a way. Like, it's cool to see someone else wearing the t-shirt or wearing the kit, and like, oh, you guys we're all in this together, and we have the same values and goals, and so that's what we found is the most cool thing about the whole thing. And the videos are a ton of work, and Eric's doing one every other week now, so he's like kind of taking the back step on that a little bit, but we have the podcast and we have the gear, and we hope to eventually do camps kind of like this, or we can bring people together to see Bend and do fun rides together and stuff like that. But that's hard. Like, we're doing so many things. We're racing professionally, and we need more help to be able to do something like that. But that's our dream ultimately, is to bring like the internet world, seeing all these people virtually, into like real life scenarios like this. So it's pretty cool.
Campfire across TTL.
Yeah, we could do like a collaboration.
We are here for help with camps anytime.
Yes. If you need to hire us, just run your camp.
We are here for that.
We could do it in tandem.
We would love it.
So, like, speaking of TTL, you guys just launched the Devo Team, and
Yes.
I wanted to ask, like, where did that come from? Like, where did the office for that come from?
So we have a development team of 7 athletes. They're like up and coming professionals, racing in their first year pro or last year age group, stuff like that. It actually came about, Eric's been thinking about it for many years, but our friend Andy Kruger, who actually lives and trains with us here in Bend, asked Eric to help him design his kit. So Eric's like fully immersed in this, taking it on and designing Andy's kit for him. And it was such a cool looking kit that Eric's like, we should just make this the development team kit and launch this right now.
Nice.
So it was a bit late in the year for it. Like we accepted applications like February, March. So they actually just got their kits last weekend. And then we funded the team. We're actually giving them a certain amount of money per year, so they're kind of sponsored by us, and that's all funded by kit sales to age group athletes. So
Cool.
we sold Castelli kits to just the general public that they could wear and buy, and all of the proceeds we made from that went straight back into the Devo team. So yeah, it's fun. We're trying to kind of mentor them, and no pressure scenario. Like, we don't want them to feel like they need to go win races or anything, but making that jump to pro is really hard, and we've both experienced that. So we offer them, advice or help, or they can text us anytime, a little bit of money for travel and coaching, and then like we sent them all 6 pairs of On shoes, and kind of like our sponsors have got on board and offered them a bit of support as well. And that's cool when you're that kind of a up and coming athlete. To get free shoes is a big deal. So I remember that phase of my career, and it's fun. So yeah, just as much as we can do. Our friend Andy raced today in Boulder and didn't finish, and he felt so terrible and texted us like he's sorry and felt like he let us down, and we're like, that's not the point.
Right.
You know, this is hard, we're here for you. Like, it's not meant to create pressure, it's more meant to create community. Yeah.
Is that something that came about because it's so hard to find mentors, or because you guys had strong mentors when you were doing that?
Not even it's hard to find mentors, it's just hard to like crack into the professional field and race that level. It's really, really, like Boulder 70.3, Sam Long just raced one of the fastest 70.3s of all time, and it's like a C-level race. So there's no such thing as like a development race anymore. So how are you supposed to make that jump? And yeah, any help we can offer them, or like also our idea with them is to bring them here for a camp, but I don't know if that'll actually happen this year. They all live all over the world, so it's just a little logistical nightmare, but that kind of idea would be fun for us. And
That's cool.
we obviously have mentors too, but not like this setup. So.
Yeah.
Let's open up to
any
questions.
questions.
So curious with some of the stuff.
Yeah.
So the Pack Crest race is next weekend here in San Never Bend. So like, do you even care about something like that? Do you show up, or do it just to watch?
Is
or
that
do you just care less?
the Deschutes staff?
Yeah.
It's the Deschutes Stash course, but
okay.
it's now the Pack Crest.
They got like
They sort of got folded together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are doing it, so we'll be there to watch. I'm not doing racing, but local stuff is cool, and I think there's prize money as well. So
We should do.
yeah, but we race, like I said earlier, the PTO races now, and the 70.3, like the pressure put on me to perform at those races is kind of huge. So to go out and just do a fun race is not really. It's hard to fit it into the whole training plan and big picture. But it is fun to like show up at those events and see people and cheer. So we'll do that.
Other questions? Morgan.
Do you still get nervous before races?
Definitely. Yes, if I still get nervous. Yeah.
How do you, when you're in the chute and you're standing next to your, the 3 other people that are probably going to do, how do I deal with that?
Yeah. It goes way back to, I get way too nervous. It like ruins the whole pre-race experience for me just because I'm so anxious. And really what helps me not think about it as much is just like the process and thinking about one step at a time. So before the swim start, I'm not thinking about the run, or I'm not thinking about the finish place. I'm just thinking about the swim and how I can have the best swim possible. So kind of breaking the race up into pieces in my mind and visualizing it that way versus what's the outcome going to be helps to calm me down a little bit. And the nerves definitely vary based on the level of competition. Like at the PTO race with all the best athletes in the world, I get more nervous than in Chattanooga, where I thought I had a pretty good chance of winning. So it also changes based on the time of year. Like if I've done a lot of races in the year, I have my process pretty dialed and my equipment's pretty set, and it's much more smooth heading into a race later in the season, and that takes the nerves away because it's almost like robotic setting up for the whole thing, and then it's just like doing what I know I can do. So it's really tough, and everyone gets nervous. if you're not nervous, then that's probably bad. It means you care about it and you've trained for it hard, so it's not always a bad thing. And then often, as soon as the gun goes off, the nerves go away. So can remember that too. The worst part's the pre-start, and then it's all good.
Are there things that you still fine-tune in your process, or is it pretty much like you know exactly what you're doing?
Yeah, we're like messing around with our bikes like the day before.
Perfect.
It's pretty annoying. No, Eric's very like tinkery with stuff, and even my bike position has changed and evolved, and we're working with Watch Shop, who has like this front end that's new to us, so we're still changing stuff, for better or for worse, I don't know. But Eric's like changing tires the day before, stuff like that.
Great.
He's kind of taking the role of mechanic, so I don't stress about that stuff as much.
Yeah, Sarah, you had a question.
So this is my hobby. I love triathlon as a hobby.
Yeah.
Do you have a hobby, or how do you
That's such a good question.
how do you balance the really intense training schedule with like fun?
Virtual reality and combat.
Well, I know, it is hard because it can become so all-consuming, the sport, if you don't check out, because it's like a job, but it's also, you have to live it 24/7 to be the best at it. So it's really hard to switch off, and it helps to have Flynn, our dog. He's a big part of my day, just making sure he's exercised, and taking him to the park and sitting on the grass and chuck it with him for 30 minutes. That kind of is like my zone out time. And I don't know if a dog is a hobby, but he certainly helps with taking my mind off the sport, and this thing depends on me, who doesn't care how I do in a race. That helps. I'm sure it's similar with kids, although much more intense. But in the winter, actually living in Bend is a really good, allows us a lot of balance throughout the year, because in the winter we do a lot of skiing and we do winter sports and less triathlon. So athletes who kind of chase the summer all year, and they'll go to Australia in our winter and then come here in the summer, they kind of overtrain because they just always swim bike running. Whereas we get this little refresh time between like November and March where we ski 3 days a week, and we go visit Canada where my parents are. So it kind of breaks up the year really well and forces us to take an off season where we're still staying active but not training really hard, and then we feel pretty refreshed by February, March when we're getting back into it. So
Paula makes an excellent gas-fired pizza as well.
yeah, we have a good pizza oven. I guess we do have hobbies. I make it sound so boring. We have TTL, we have a van, we got the podcast, but that's all like can be considered work. But TTL truly does take up all of Eric's time when he's not training.
Wow.
Like he's fully immersed, and his camera obsession, video stuff, drums, takes up all his time. So
Just an average age grouper, but I don't like even do skiing or snowboarding because I don't want to hurt myself with triathlon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is it cross training for you, or do you just say, hey, this is life, I gotta live it?
Well, I grew up skiing, so I'm pretty comfortable on skis, but it's not really always up to you. Like it could be other people skiing into you, so there's for sure a risk. But in my mind, cycling is a huge risk, and I know we take risks every day when we do activities, and skiing is, we walk up the hill like on touring skis and then ski down, so the majority of the exercise is actually walking uphill. So it's like a workout as well. But I've changed my mindset over the years. Like if we get injured, it's okay. But we're pretty careful when we do it, and we go inbounds mostly. We're not like way off an avalanche terrain or anything when we do it.
Snowshoeing?
We don't have snowshoes, but touring on skis with skins kind of accomplishes the same goal. But that's a low risk activity, I'd say. Snowshoeing.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Hope so.
There's for sure, even like Eric doing his mountain bike riding every day in the gravel, like there's risk there as well for crashing and breaking your collarbone or something. But we're fortunate that we have really good partners and sponsors that will, even if we don't race all year, we'll still be able to pay the bills. So we have really good support, and that takes the pressure off of racing as well. Like with our TTL stuff and everything, even if we don't go and win races, we're still fine. So that's great. It's good.
Dean.
What's your favorite night before racing? What's your favorite
Meal? We actually go to Chipotle before races a lot. Like no beans, but like do the rice and the chicken and the veggies and the guacamole.
That's
and
great.
It's pretty reliable. Same everywhere you go. Eric just had Chipotle.
Sounds delicious.
30 minutes ago. Yeah, we don't eat it a lot like outside of racing, but it's kind of our go-to meal at races.
Yeah.
And then post-race, burgers or pizza or something greasy. And yeah, the usual unhealthiness. But we're not super anal about our diets. Like we'll have dessert every night and we eat pizza a lot. So I think when you're training as much as you all are and we are, it's okay to eat a lot and doesn't always have to be perfectly healthy, but we try to eat like well-rounded salads, veggies every night, stuff like that.
Every so often, right?
Every so often. Yeah.
Next.
So it's more of a comment. So there were three gals riding, but we didn't ride all the way back in, but we were talking about, menstrual cycles and that type of stuff relative to triathlon. So it's not a question, but I wanted to thank you for your podcast where you opened up around that. And I wanted to see what it sounded like you got a positive reaction from that.
Yeah. It wasn't my intention, but it was, to gather attention from it. But we talked in our podcast about periods and menstrual cycles and women's health.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a 34-year-old, I've been doing this since I was 15, and when I was younger it was kind of a taboo topic. Like I never got a period for 10 years when I should have had one, and I had a lot of stress fractures and health issues, and I think now it's a much more talked about and okay topic to bring up for young women who are in the sport, and even men who are anemic, and it's a problem across both genders. But we talked about it on the podcast, and I read Lauren Fleshman's book Good for a Girl, which brings up a lot of these topics and conversations
Carrie
as well.
Goucher?
Yeah, Carrie Goucher. She has a book too now.
Yeah, Carrie Goucher's is good.
Yeah.
So it's Linden.
I'm in the middle of.
Yeah, they all are my inspiration. I've followed them my whole career. But I think it's a topic that needs to be talked about because it affects so many athletes and their longevity in the sport, and I should not be still doing triathlon based on like the 8 or 9 years post-Olympics when I was really struggling and sick and anemic and getting broken bones all the time. I should have retired for sure, but somehow I survived. I don't even know how, but a lot of athletes don't post teenage years. So the more that it's talked about, the more I think that can be helped. So so thank you for listening to it.
Why do you think you stayed in the sport? You can't
somehow
float that balloon there.
Well, I went to the Olympics in 2012, and prior to that I had won 5 WTS races, like ITU races in a row at the highest level. So I was ranked first in the world, went to the Olympics with a medal hope, had the whole country kind of thinking I would win a medal, and then got injured, got sick, had a terrible Olympics, finished in last place, and the next 4 or 5 years I always had that memory pretty recent in my mind of 2011 when I was the best in the world at it. So it never crossed my mind that I couldn't get back to that level. It was only a few years ago. Of course I can be fast again. And 2 years turns to 3 years, turns to 4 years, and I'm still trying to get back there. But I don't know, I just had that belief, I guess, that I could still be the best at it, and I wanted to go back to the Olympics in 16 and 2020, and it's nice in triathlon because there's 70.3 in Ironman that kind of offers this whole other career to have after ITU and after the Olympics. So that's really what's kept me in it, is being able to make the change and race long course, because I'm not suited anymore as a 34-year-old to race the really fast ITU races, but I can race well at the long distance now. So not a lot of sports have that. If you're a rower or a swimmer, it's you go to the Olympics and that's kind of the end of your career, whereas triathlon, you can have a full other career. So I guess that's why.
Yeah, good.
And I love it.
Yay!
Except for the moments when I hate
Sometimes
it.
I love it. I love it. That's great.
Are you getting into lactate testing and all that kind of stuff?
We don't prick ourselves or anything. We're pretty simple in our training, and our coach, we have a coach obviously, but he doesn't prescribe that too much. We did VO2 lactate profiling at the beginning of the season it was more to get zones of training and watts basically, so that he can then prescribe watts based on what the session's supposed to accomplish. But I think some of that stuff can get too scientific and too distracting, honestly, and we're just happier being told what watts to do and executing it versus checking our lactate after every session. So it's not a bad thing. It works well for some athletes, but for Eric and I, yeah, we're a little more simple. We use power. We don't even use heart rate. Mostly power and pace on the run. So.
How reliant on that data are you when you're racing? Or is it something that you glance at, or are you pretty like dialed in?
Yeah, it depends on the race. Like in Chattanooga, I was out in front, so I wasn't needing to kind of play to the dynamics of the race. I was just mostly trying to do good power. But in a race where it's very close and tactical and everyone's kind of in a bunch, I don't look at my power because it's just racing the race. For the TT I'm doing in a couple weeks, I'll for sure look at it because it guides my effort completely, making sure I don't drop below a certain number. And something I've been working on this year is riding good power on the downhills as well as the uphills, because everyone can get up and out of the saddle and climb at 30 watts higher than their average. But for me, my struggle has been going hard on descents. Because you're going fast, it's kind of scarier to push even harder and go even faster, but you can lose a lot of time if you're not kind of riding the whole race hard. So my coach gives me this like range where he doesn't want me to drop below if I'm descending. So yeah, I do look at it a lot. Yeah, maybe too much.
You do pretty well, so.
It can suck the fun out of training, though. I think it's important to have some rides where you don't look at it, and it's okay to ride 100 watts for an hour, you know?
Yeah.
Or don't even turn your power meter on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My gravel bike doesn't have a power meter, so it's very freeing.
I know I just added a power meter to the gravel bike, and I'm pretty ambivalent about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this was. I'm like, okay, this is nice, but it was nicer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
Yeah. It like returns it to that sense of like playing on a bike.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you descend on a gravel road forever, your power is going to drop enormously.
Totally.
Right. Yeah.
How do you feel about the new, like I've seen some of the races, they're using like the new draft technologies with the little sensors and the lights.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The PTO is doing that. So basically it's a device they put on every athlete's bike. It's pretty like big and cumbersome, but everyone has it, so it equalizes all the aerodynamic downfalls of it. But the PTO distance is 20 meters from bike to bike, not 12 like an Ironman. So basically the sensor on the rear of the person's bike in front of you lights up and tells you if you're within that zone. So I have a sensor on my fork, and everyone has a sensor on their seat post. And if you're within 23 meters, it's yellow. If you're within 20, it starts blinking red, and then as soon as you're within 20, it's solid red. So it's a visual cue to make sure that you stay outside the drafting zone. And there's referees on course, and it's not like an automatic DQ if you're in the red zone. The referees use it to make their calls. So if you're kind of yo-yoing right out of it, as soon as you get in it, it's fine, because you can't be perfect all the time with rolling courses, but it just, I think, creates a much more fair race, because a lot of people aren't intentionally drafting. It's just that they don't know what it looks like to ride at 20 meters. So for me, it was a great tool to be able to stay at the perfect distance. Yeah.
How long do you have to pass when you're in the 20 meter zone?
I should know that. 40 seconds.
You're like, just get past.
As fast as you possibly can.
Okay.
I think it's about the same as Ironman.
Okay.
Whatever that is. But once you start a pass, you have to make it pass, right? You can't drop it.
Exactly.
Same. I just did it.
As a strong cyclist, are you like happy about this development that it's gone to 20 meters?
Yeah, for sure. Like in Oceanside, I was leading the pack, and 12 meters is so little. Like you get this huge draft benefit even at 12 meters. Going the speeds that we're going, so it changes the dynamic of the race. If someone's really good at sitting right at 12 meters, they're getting sucked along at 30 watts less than what I'm doing. So 20 meters makes a bigger difference. Even 20 meters is not as much as you think it is. Like looking at the Race Ranger technology. Right, it's pretty short. So to think that Ironman is nearly half of that distance is so mind-blowing to me. So I think all races should be 20, but I think the PTO races are much more fair, non-draft races because of that bigger distance. So yeah, it's good.
Scott.
Who's your favorite competitor to race against? And then what competitor pushes you to that next level that you love racing against?
Who do I like racing with? I'm actually really good friends with a lot of the women that I race. like I even say sometimes almost too good of friends with them. Like I want them to do well, but obviously I want to beat them too. So it's kind of comforting to see them. When you asked about nerves, they're my friends and they're all in the start tent with me. So it does really comfort me to like have them around in a way, in a weird way. Ellie Salthouse is a good friend of mine, Holly Lawrence, Jackie Herring. We're all really friendly. There's not a single girl I don't like. So it's kind of fun to like see them again and again and race against everyone all the time. I really like racing with Holly because she's usually a bit ahead on the swim, and I'll catch her on the bike, and then we'll switch turns a bit. And I've looked up to her a lot over the years, so she's one of my favorites. I think I get the most out of racing someone like Daniela or Lucy because I feel like they should always be way ahead of me. So if I'm in the same territory as them, like at 70.3 Worlds, I was running with Lucy and Flora, and that was like so crazy to me because in my mind they are the best in the world and I should not be anywhere near them. So to be side by side with them really got the most out of me because I respect them so much, and their results on paper are just insane. So
Next question.
Morgan.
Out of left field.
Yeah.
So it's going to be basketball related. So who's the GOAT for triathlon?
Jan. Probably Jan. Not just in his results, but he's just like marketed himself perfectly. Really like clean cut, has his own brand with Rise On. I don't know, I think he's just managed his career so intelligently that he'll be fine for life, I think, after he retires. And obviously the results are best ever, like Olympic champion and Ironman world champion. That's kind of insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, he might be the GOAT. And everyone knows it. It's like Jan is God.
Yeah. Do you have a women's GOAT?
I would say Daniela, although it's not like I've beaten Daniela plenty of times. So her results when she's on at the top and super fit, or she's untouchable. But she also is very human and has a lot of not so good days when I can see her. So she's relatable in that way. She's not always going to win by 20 minutes, but when she's fit and she's ready, she'll win by 20 minutes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like training with other people, or do you like doing your own thing?
Yeah, good question. I need other people in the pool. If you go to the pool solo, it's not good. Even just having someone jump in with you if they're not doing your workout, I think is important. Just to meet someone at the pool at a certain time helps me a ton. And I have Eric, so everything is with a training partner, really. We go out the door together every day, and we often have different sessions, but we'll at least start together and warm up together, and that helps me a lot. Keeping each other accountable. Chasing him on the bike has helped me a ton with my cycling because he's a bit stronger, but not as far ahead as he'd like to be sometimes. But in terms of other athletes, it depends on the athlete. I don't like racing every day. I think sometimes that can lead to injuries and troubles when you're just pushing too hard in training and kind of getting outside yourself. And this happened to me in my ITU days when I trained with a big squad and we were all racing every single day and then racing on the race course, and a lot of people just burn out that way. So you have to like select your training partners carefully. And even if Eric and I go out with some of our friends who are age group athletes and it's our easy day, but they think that we're superhuman, so they're pushing the whole time, and that can get dangerous too. So we like to go really easy when it's easy, and that is, you have to have people that understand that and that will train with you and not like compete against you. So yeah. Actually, my friend Ellie is in Bend right now. Ellie Salthouse.
Oh, right on.
For the next couple months.
Oh, right on.
And we have different schedules, but we're meeting up for some stuff. Like long rides, great to have other people. Swims, great to have other people. But like track workouts, I don't really want to race around the track. So yeah, just have to be careful.
Do you get naps every day? Do you do that?
Naps? Yeah, as crazy as it sounds, because we just swim, bike, run, and don't have other jobs. We are pretty busy. Like, I don't really have time to nap. It feels like we have 3 sessions a day. We'll swim at 7, bike at 11, and run in the evening. And between that, we're like dealing with Flynn or doing TTL stuff. So I think that we sleep better without napping. Like, we'll go to bed at 9:30 and fall straight to sleep and sleep till 6 or something. So we sleep really well in the night and don't feel necessarily like we need to nap. But we do have like feed up time where we're on our computers and stuff.
Do you get to take a day off?
I don't know. Our coach doesn't really do days off, which I don't think is good, but days off are important. But we'll have a light day where we'll like swim only, so it's kind of a day off. I don't know. After recovery, yeah. I think that sometimes that can be good just to like do some movement every day, and swimming is low impact, and you know. But yeah, we don't have complete days off, except for a few days after a race we'll take off completely.
Do you ever find yourself like sending a text to your coach or calling your coach and being like, I'm completely cooked, like I need, like, what does that look like? How do you know when you're sort of like, I am done, I need to like pull the training back a little bit?
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. If you looked at my training schedule, you would not be impressed. It's like our coach does a really good job of moderating our effort weekly so that it's attainable.
Nice.
And yeah, of course he pushes us and we're working really hard, but the balance seems to work well, so I don't really ever get into this big hole, and we're not ever doing these hero weeks or hero sessions, or it's pretty sustainable. And so there's not a lot of times where I'm texting in a panic. A lot of sometimes I do if I can't hit the watts that I think I should hit for a session, and I'm freaking out on the road texting him, but he's like, it's fine. He's pretty level-headed. He doesn't get too excited or too upset about anything, so that balances my emotions pretty well.
How long have you worked with Paula? It's been a long time now.
Yeah, like 2018, 2017.
Okay, yeah.
So 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
Yeah, my coach is interesting. He's Portuguese, and over the years has gotten a lot softer and easier to talk to, but he is a pretty hard ass. Like, really, Do you have a question?
Have you ever had a coach you didn't like?
Yeah, actually. I don't know, I'm not going to say who it is, but...
That's okay, but why?
Oh, well, yeah. It was the communication was really tough for me. And interestingly, it was the coach I had all through my WTS wins. Like every single one of my 5 wins, he was my coach. And he was the junior national team coach, so it wasn't like I actively like went and chose him, but he was obviously an amazing coach, got me to some great places and great results, but our communication really struggled, and I was a little bit of a pain in the ass, like when I was younger, and I wanted to just do everything as hard as I could and do extra, and it's not his fault at all, but I think that it was hard for him to manage, like, this teenager who was, like, suddenly the best in the world. It was hard for him, too. He was very soft-spoken, very, not a pushover, but almost, like, would let me do too much, and then I would get hurt, so, it just didn't work great, but he was great in a lot of ways. It was just, he wasn't, like, my best friend or anything, and I don't think your coach should be your best friend, necessarily. But yeah, that's the only time. We're lucky now that we can, as on-course athletes, pick any coach we want, and I don't think it's good to like bounce between coaches too much, but I really like Paula, who we work with now, and of course after bad races or bad seasons, you want to blame the coach, but I've also had amazing seasons under his guidance, so it's a very back and forth relationship and two-sided. Like, you can't just blame the coach if something's not going well. You have to have good communication. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Where's your favorite place to race?
To race? Good question. I love racing in Europe, actually. It's very different than the US. The roads are a lot more interesting usually, and windy and hilly. The culture's really cool there. Like, it's fun to go to these towns like Ibiza in Spain and little cafes, and I don't know, it's just really fun to go over there. It's not necessarily the races themselves, but just the pre-race and the post-race is really fun. It's something really different than the US. I love racing in Edmonton, which is where I'm from. The PTO race is not happening this year in Edmonton, but it did last year, and that's where I was born, so it's fun to go home and race. And
do folks still live there, or do they?
Yeah, they do.
Do you get to like go like sleep
stay
at
in my
home?
bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have my bedroom.
Yes.
Oh my
God, that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but they still live in the same house that I grew up in, and my mom's actually the race director for that race.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah. So she's very involved. Too involved. Yeah.
Do you always get the best bib number?
Yeah.
of your
No,
races?
she doesn't get to say that. But yeah, it's nice to have some. She designed the courses, so I was like, I get a bit of feedback on that.
What's one thing that's in your childhood bedroom that you were like excited to see every time you go home?
Oh, I used to like display all of my trophies
I would
on the
think.
shelf, and they're still there.
Right.
I don't know. It's cool to look back and see like the success I had as a teenager growing up in running and swimming, and you don't really appreciate it at the time. Even going to the Olympics, I'm like didn't care at the time. It was just like I expected that of myself. I wanted to just move on to the next thing and win the next thing. And when you look back and think about it a little bit of the success and how good I was at things when I was like 15 and 14 and 13, it's pretty cool. So I appreciate it more now than I did back then. It was kind of just ticking along, being a teenager and trying to be the best I could.
Win a bunch of triathlons.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
I saw someone was interviewing as a pro, and he was talking about that was one of his biggest regrets was just throwing away all his trophies when he was a kid because he didn't think he could go back. He's like, oh my. So that's really cool.
When you see it, like my parents haven't thrown them out yet, so they're still there.
Save all your bib numbers and like hold on to those.
Yeah, stuff like that is
so
meaningful
cool.
later.
Yeah,
more than in the moment.
Yeah.
You have a bad race, you want to just throw out your bib, just keep it. Or the good race. Actually, Eric and I tape up our bibs of our good races in the garage.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, good
So we
bib
got
ball
like
is
a
like
small thing of
What else do you have in the like motivation part of your garage? Is it just the bib numbers, or do you have like cat hanging from a tree saying she's in there?
No, the garage is a work in progress. We really want to do like a neon TTL thing on the wall, so we could have like a darker garage with a lit up TTL.
Cool. Awesome.
Not just for us, but just to look cool in YouTube videos and stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's someday we'll have that. We love our garage setup. We have 2 treadmills, 2 kickers, the TVs, the bike stands. It's like we've spent a lot of work getting that dialed because we spend so much time in there in the winter. So yeah, the garage is key.
This will be my last question, I swear. Like, when's the last? Do you have a cutoff for dinner? Like, you said, hey, this is when I gotta stop eating, or do you just kind of?
Oh, for eating.
Are you
in the
rounded
night?
enough where you don't have to worry about that?
No, we eat a lot in the evenings, right till the moment we go to bed.
Great.
Especially Eric, like he'll have a pretty big dinner, pretty big dessert, and then a huge bowl of cereal before bed.
Awesome.
I wouldn't like necessarily advise that. It's kind of a lot of sugar right before dinner, but he doesn't have a problem with it. And if he doesn't eat that much before bed, he wakes up hungry and then has to go have a snack in the middle of the night, which is, I don't think that good. It's better to eat before you go to bed and have uninterrupted sleep. I feel the same way if I'm training really hard and don't eat enough in the day. I'll wake up and have yogurt in the middle of the night, which is just a sign I should have probably eaten more for dinner. But I don't know, we don't have a cutoff for, we kind of eat to hunger, honestly. And now that I do that, I used to restrict my eating way more back in the day, and I was a lot unhealthier and less lean. Like, I think as I've like listened to my body more and eaten more, I've gotten leaner and healthier and racing better. So, yeah.
Feed the speed.
Yeah.
Especially after a 100-mile ride, you gotta eat a lot.
You guys should be all eating something now.
The other thing we do, like that's important, I think, for long rides like that is eating during the ride, and then you shouldn't come home and get through the door and be absolutely starving. I think you should have kind of paced out your calories throughout the 4 or 5 hours so that, yes, you're hungry, but you've fueled well.
Right.
Yeah, that's the big, I mean, you guys all know that, I'm sure.
What's your favorite long ride snack?
Or
you just like just sports food?
I actually really like the Morton solid bars. They're not a sponsor, but they're really good. They're good.
With?
Sorry?
Do you train with Morton? Or what do you use?
I mostly use Morton in races, I like the consistency of the gels. We work a little bit with the feed loosely, so we can choose any products we want, but we really like Precision and we really like Morton, our go-tos. Yeah.
The Precision products are so good.
Those little marshmallow guys are great.
Precision's great. The people are great. This stuff is pretty like neutral flavored, I find, the taste, so it's easy to take in races, I think.
Time for probably 1 or 2 more questions
I
before
was
we
just
let
going to do
Paula
another
go.
statement.
No, I'm not
I
in a rush.
love, like, on the podcast, that subscription model.
Yeah.
Because having it ad free is so you're not like
talking about athletic greens.
Or the feed, or
the
so
feed is interesting.
And I haven't seen that in a lot of podcasts. Is that something, or maybe I'm just listening to the wrong podcast? Was that something that Nick came up with? The subscription model.
All three of us. Yeah, I think that at this point the podcast is getting enough listens that it could be pretty profitable by having sponsors. Like that's how you make money off of podcasting, right? Doing ad reads, talking about athletic greens, talking about Whoop, whatever it is. But we just don't really want to cross over the podcast with like our personal sponsors as athletes necessarily. And you're right, when I'm listening to Ritual and he's talking about some ad, I fast forward it. So it's disruptive to the flow of the podcast, and that's how he's making money, so it's necessary. But mostly we don't do the podcast to like make money necessarily. We need to pay Nick a little bit because he puts a lot of time into it, but the subscription allows us to do that.
Have you had subscriber?
Do
you have, like, is it critical mass at this point?
I think we have 600 subscribers.
Sponsor the podcast, so it's not a significant monthly expense. And
it's not. I mean, we the upfront expense of buying all the gear was kind of substantial, but worth it because the sound is important. And then we pay Nick most of that to do not just the podcast. He helps us in so many ways, but it's become like a good amount of money that we can't like skip the podcast because we don't feel like doing it. Because I'm often the one that's like, I don't want to do it tonight, I'm not in a good mood, but the boys are like, we gotta do it every week. We do it, and it's not a lot of time out of Eric and I's day, but Nick spends a ton of time editing it, so it's fun though. Like most people comment on the podcast and not on the vlog when they see us at races. Like, I love the podcast.
Interesting.
And Eric's like, what about the video?
I love the video.
What about this thing that I'm pouring all of my time into?
Yeah. I mean, Nick spends a lot of time, but it's a fraction of the time that a YouTube video takes to make.
Yeah.
So
podcasts are just more consumable. Like you're driving in the car, you can turn it on.
We realize that. Yeah.
I watch the vlog on the trainer because I find other people working really hard to be really motivating.
Yeah.
So, like
Lionel's 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly.
That, yeah?
Exactly.
Talbot actually wants to come to Bend and film a 48 hours with TTL.
Great idea.
An hour YouTube video. He has to edit it. It's too much work.
That's
a lot. But I watched it. Did anyone else watch Lionel's 1 hour video?
Yes.
Yeah, like insane.
Any Lionel's.
Yeah.
You watch it for you never know what's going to come out.
Right. So entertaining. I'm a fan.
I think one more question, and then we got to figure out how we're going to give away these bottles.
I don't know. I don't have an
I
idea.
have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a bucket list race you want to do maybe in like the next 5 years?
Oh, interesting. I'd love to do the Olympics. No, that's not.
Alcatraz?
No, hate Alcatraz. If you really like
The shoot stash.
Yeah, we gotta do that. In the back of my mind, I want to do an Ironman, but also thinking about what it would entail and the kind of training to do an Ironman. It's not what I like doing in training. Long rides, super long runs. I don't know. Like I like the idea of doing Roth as a goal. Because of the hype, they take really good care of the athletes. It's a super cool course, but also the thought of training for a marathon and training for that long of a race is not really appealing to me. I think that the relatively short distance of the 100K and the PTO race suits me pretty well. So to do like double or triple that is a bit daunting. But I guess within 5 years, maybe I'll feel differently. So Roth would be my go-to for a bucket list. And Eric's is Patagon Man, actually. It's kind of more adventure-y. Long distance race. He never wants to do an Ironman unless it's that one. So yeah, he's very motivated by like extreme challenges like that. It's something that's not conventional. Not like who's the most aero for 180K. So he might do that in the next year or two.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, how are we going to?
I was gonna do. In my mind, I thought like whoever asks the best question, I'll give them to. But everyone was asking questions. I was like, this could be an encouragement to be participating. But everyone asked good ones.
Okay.
You can just keep them and do it another time too.
Why don't you think of 2 numbers from 1 to 10?
I could just think of a quiz.
Yeah, a TTL quiz.
Oh, yeah.
A Paula race result. Okay.
Molly and I,
reference.
Molly and I will do our best.
Okay.
Okay.
Super fan. Yeah.
How did everybody heed Paula's advice and get some food in your gut after your ride today? Everybody get some
More
fluid.
than you think you need.
More than you think you need.
Okay.
There's food trucks here.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Dump
you guys
City.
will be hitting the food trucks after this. But yeah, super important.
Is this the last day?
No, we got
It's the first day.
First
full day.
What day is it? It's Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have tomorrow and Monday?
We have Sizemore
Tomorrow, Monday, and then
yeah.
we still do one last swim on
Tuesday. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. What
Maybe I'll
did
see you at
Jamie
the
do
pool.
for your birthday swim this year? That set of 33 things that we did last year, I ripped off so many times.
Oh,
did
yeah.
he do you a birthday
We
swim
didn't
this
do
year?
one this year.
Nice.
Because I was in Chattanooga.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it was
It's a
recent.
good win.
I can't think of a good question. I don't want it to be TTL based. It should be more triathlon, dog based. What kind of first person raise their hand? What breed of dog is Flynn?
Long-haired German. Okay, now I here.
Yeah.
Scott gets it.
You get to choose. Do you want the clear one or the bluish one? Which one?
Blue one.
Blue.
And I'm obsessed with triathlon dogs, Jimmy and Flynn.
All right, we got one.
I got the first 2 points.
This is a crazy one. What was Sam Long's bike split today?
I was going to give my question to you, or my
Whoever's
answer
the
to you.
closest gets it.
The average over 28 miles an hour, so
It's crazy fast. It was insane. It was a 70.3 in Boulder, and he won by 5 minutes.
Wow.
So 56 miles.
Good for him.
Low air pressure in Boulder. You do tend to go a little fast. What's the guess?
Everyone can guess, and the fastest
What
will
was
get
it?
it.
159.
I said
Yeah,
221.
Cam says 159.
$1.
Dean says 155. 205.
201.
2. Exactly 2.
We guess 147.
153.
I was
Bag
going to say
one's above.
148.
You prices rated me. That's so mean.
I did.
That's
why I got one for
We're
you.
like a donut answer, but I do
minute.
know how to make
Oh,
prices.
I should not have done that. You helped me so much today.
Anyone else have a guess? I have a winner so far.
Going once, going twice. Any other guesses? All right, who is the winner?
Crazy. 153.10.
Wow.
Morgan.
Morgan.
Dude.
You get a photo.
Excellent question.
Thanks.
That was a really good question.
Only the super fans.
Yeah.
Holy crap,
That's great.
53.10.
That's great.
I think it
The
was one
super
of the
fan who was
fastest
on their bike ride.
half
I
distance
watched him
races
flip.
that's not in Dubai where they get a motor.
Yeah.
So yeah, crazy race.
Where was that at? Where was that?
Boulder at altitude. And there is a factor of it being lower air density at altitude, so you go faster.
But
When people want to do the hour record,
hypothetically,
they
that
often
would
go
help us out.
high because there's less air.
Like
So
the
you're
golf ball
faster.
flies 8% that farther at altitude.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
if you were preparing for something like that, would you go up to altitude, come back? What would you, you live sort of at an awkward altitude.
Yeah, this isn't really altitude.
Yeah.
We went to Flagstaff for a month in April, and it made every workout so challenging.
Yeah.
It's really mentally difficult because even easy runs feel really hard. But we felt great after. And I think we're still reaping the benefits from it, even a month later. You feel like going down to sea level, it's not necessarily that you can push yourself harder, but you can go forever. It's a crazy feeling.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so if you ever have the opportunity to train at altitude, and Flagstaff is high. It's at
8,000.
2,100 meters.
Wow.
Yeah, so higher than Boulder.
Did you just live up there? Did you sleep low and train high? Or
No, we just stayed up there and trained up there. We didn't go down to Sedona or anything. We were only there for 3 or 4 weeks, so it was just worth it to stay right up there. But basically, all my power on the bike was 30 watts lower than it would be here.
Oh, wow.
So you have to be okay with that in your mind, and be confident that you can come down and go higher again with your power. But kind of messes with your head a bit because you're so out of breath at watts that shouldn't be hard. But yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It is so wonderful to have you again. I really appreciate it.
I wish Eric was here. I feel like I just talked too much.
No, this is wonderful.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, and good luck with the camp.
Your time. Yeah.
Sounds
Thanks
fun.
for coming.
The next time, bring Clint, and I will walk him.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I mean, you're here for 3 more days. You could come over and walk them.
True. Bring him when we're at
If
the
you have
pool.
any
I'll walk him
downtime.
around.
Yeah. He comes to the pool with us every day, and we chuck it for 10 minutes before, and he has a nap in the car. We chuck it after, because it's like the best way to fit in his exercise around our exercise.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'll be there. What time are you guys swimming?
Tomorrow we're swimming in the afternoon tomorrow. So we're
Okay.
gonna do
That's
getting like lap times from Juniper is like bananas.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
We have
Let's
Tuesday
swim meet
morning.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're swimming at 4.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So we're gonna run. This is great. Long run in the morning, swim in the late afternoon.
You're welcome.
The worst
Yeah.
schedule.
We don't swim on Sundays.
Yeah.
But the river's nice.
Yeah, we
swam.
went to the
We
river last
rivered
night.
yesterday
Okay.
evening.
Nice.
So
Wet
see.
sea temps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's really
You
cold.
guys gotta get booties. It's so good with booties.
It's pretty cold right now, but when it's warm, it's really cool. Because I mean, cool isn't fun. You can like swim up to the bridge and swim down, and we love it.
I love the 3-minute return to the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that Deschutes Dash is like just downriver.
It is 700 meters.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like you.
5 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Insignificant.
70.3 like Salem. You're like, what the heck?
Yep.
What are we doing
Yeah, is
here?
anyone racing Oregon?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've done it the last couple
Here.
of years.
You have.
I live there.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
We might do it, but we like having a real swim.
Yeah.
I bet.
Eric was gonna do it last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was, but he'll probably do it this year.
They have figured the swim out more.
Oh, they have?
Yeah, it was pretty
It's still really
rough
fast.
the first, especially the first year.
Yeah.
With the low water level,
Right.
the water's higher, so
Oh,
it
that's
should be
good.
better.
Should be slower.
Well,
or
it's gonna be
faster?
fast, but
Yeah.
like
It
the
won't be
first
as,
year
like,
you had to
hectic.
like crawl across the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got like stuck
Yeah.
on
I got
a
high center.
Yeah.
sandbar.
But it's and then they redid the run course, which the run course is awesome.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to get there. Anytime we can drive to a race is
Oh my God.
pretty sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Well, thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Yeah.